Oh, that was great.
Good times.
Sorry, that's one of the benefits of actually putting together the intro. Is that
Yes.
I'm freaking out both of you by lip syncing with it.
Especially when you told me to talk nerdy to you. That was a little weird.
That's right. And you said no.
Ben, your
I'm-
voice is very high.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Until
Yeah,
now.
I'm a little under the weather at the moment. But I sound all awesome, don't I?
Swallowed some frogs, did you?
Maybe.
2 or 3.
Sexy jazz voice.
Yeah.
Are you going to be at a lounge later in Vegas?
Yeah.
Singing us some tunes?
Let me know what this sounds like. It's the Nerd Show on 1190 AM. All right, that sounds terrible.
Yeah, well,
It's
you can't win them all.
I can't win them all. That's right. You are listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Phone numbers up here at the station are 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. You can give us a call. You can talk to us on air. You can make fun of my voice if you wish.
we will.
Oh, well, yeah, I know you guys will.
Yes, we've got almost an hour to do that.
But yeah, thank you. And of course, everyone at home can make fun of my voice as well. You can check out our website. We are on thenerdshowonline.com. We are streaming live through iHeart Radio. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thenerdShow, or you can follow us during the show on Twitter, twitter.com/thenerdShow. You know, I came across this story. Actually, you sent me this story, Glenn.
Yes, indeed.
It's the actual DVD art for the girl with the dragon tattoo, because of course the DVD is coming up very soon.
Yes, and I thought this was absolutely genius. I mean, you could see it as a complete failure or a complete success. I say Sony, bravo, well done. The gist of it is I saw this a couple different places on Deadline.com, as well as, where else did I see it? Mashable.
Right.
And what they did, I mean, for those of you that don't know the premise of the film, the main character is, kind of a hacker. And so they took the DVD and they printed it out to look like a DVD-R, like you would burn in your computer, and they wrote The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in Sharpie. And this has exploded because people have been calling Redbox and Amazon saying, hey, we got a pirated copy of this film. And so, bravo, Sony. Excellent marketing play.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. I think it's genius.
I think it really cements them as a cult movie now.
Well, not only
in this
not
particular
just,
in this particular marketing move. I think it helps.
I guess I just think it's I think it's really smart advertising. I think it's very apropos to the character and to the film itself and what's going on. And so it's really brilliant. For me, it's really brilliant advertising and marketing because it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea.
And that's the best thing. When it comes to marketing, the best ideas really kind of sell themselves, and this really sold itself.
Right. Nobody overthought it. And it's just clever enough to go, oh, I get it. That's good, without being so, over the top with it. I'm sure there are plenty of people who would disagree with me, but for my taste, I love it. And I love the fact that the litany of people who are probably in charge of actually getting this put out and on the shelves approved it along the way.
Oh, yeah. And
so
I'm sure they're high-fiving each other and clinking martinis, Mad Men style.
It's brilliant.
I want to do that. That sounds fun.
We'll come up with a brilliant marketing scheme for a movie.
Dang it. One thing at a time.
Or perhaps a radio show.
Hey, I've got one of those.
Hey.
Hey.
Well,
You're halfway there.
They actually put a note on the webpage for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. It says, note to renters. The handwritten look on the disc of this movie is illegitimate and is intended to look like a burned DVD.
That is awesome.
Yep.
So there you go.
I love it.
That's
great. It's a great film, too. If you haven't seen it, go watch it when it comes out. Or just better yet, just buy it. Buy 2 copies.
Yeah, help the economy.
And then burn another one. Don't really burn one.
Don't burn one.
No, it'll probably look better than the one that you actually got.
That opinion not endorsed by the Nerd Show. Or
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
No, go by the film. It's phenomenal. I really, that was honestly one of my more favorite films of last year, and I'm kind of sad they didn't get more Oscar nods than they did. But that's me.
You know, what's strange? Moving on to the next one. Is there's actually a group out there. Now, I actually found out about these guys. I was looking for prep material for the news segment tonight, and I came across a group of guys that actually did a version of Aliens on ice.
That is also spectacular.
Isn't it great? These guys are called, let's see, their theater company is called Old Murder House Theater. And they put together RoboCop Live. They put together Aliens on Ice.
I would like to see the RoboCop one.
I would too. That one looks great.
That would be fantastic.
I'm a big Alien fan, so I also would have loved to see. Are they coming to town at all? Are they doing anything?
Yes, actually, the news story is they've come up with a third live show, and it's called Jurassic Farce. So they're doing a live staged version of Jurassic Park.
That is excellent. I want to see Velociraptors.
I know.
Yeah,
I can only imagine how quickly they can move on ice too.
Well, they're actually going to start touring. Let's see, notable cities are Austin, Texas, June 10th, and the next time they come to Texas is going to be Dallas, July 1st.
Very cool.
So we're going to have to get in touch with those guys.
Where else are they going? Are they going to some other big places?
Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., New York, Boston, Chicago, San Francisco, L.A., Dallas, and again, Austin on July 3rd.
That's awesome.
Did you see where they're based out of?
No, it does not say.
Okay.
I need to do some more research on these guys.
Well, everybody else can go home and look it up as well.
That's right.
Using the internets.
And shoot us a message on Facebook and let us know. You're actually manning Facebook over there, aren't you?
Yes, I am manning Facebook. We've got Ben and his computer having domestic issues.
I know. It feels weird. I feel naked without my computer.
You don't look naked, nor do I want to see you naked.
Thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. I
Always
appreciate
there
it.
to knock you down while you're still down.
I'm just shaking my head.
Shameful head shaking.
I just destroyed that bit.
Actually, some more news. Mass Effect 3 is actually going to be coming out with a new ending.
Yeah, the downloadable content.
That's
they
right.
already have. How many endings do they already have? 3 or 5?
I think it's between 3 and 5. Yeah,
something like that. I know they're all referred to essentially as there's the red ending, the blue ending, the green ending.
Yeah.
And if there are more, I'm blanking out on them, or maybe I'm thinking of the new downloadable content.
There's been a lot of backlash.
There are a lot of colors in the rainbow.
That's right.
It's true. At least 7 of them, I understand.
There's been a lot of backlash, and of course, BioWare, the co-founder Ray Mazuika, has confirmed that new content is in the works and will provide additional closure for Mass Effect 3. So that'll be something to look out for.
Well, there you go.
Excellent.
I don't want to spoil it, but for those who have actually gotten to the end, I don't understand what's upsetting so many people. I guess it depends on which ending you're kind of watching, but it's other than being a fan of like extra long prologues, because I kind of always want to know what happens.
You film nerd,
and then some, and then what happened. There are aspects to the ending that there are some people very upset about certain things, and all I can say is, really, like, how did you not expect that generally to happen? Without giving it away.
I honestly like the way BioWare is kind of stepping up, saying, "Okay, yeah, we'll fix this." Well,
it makes sense because the part of the premise of the game is honestly, it's your choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
Storybook, so to speak. So, I mean, they're actually in a perfect position to do that because they're like, oh, you don't like these things? Well, how about these other options? Make these different choices and see what happens.
I mean, it's great.
There you go.
It keeps Mass Effect 3 in the news, which is great.
That too. It's been a brilliant series. BioWare is an amazing game developer, and I've always been very happy with everything they've done that I've dealt with. So.
Yeah, of course, they're the ones that put together Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is just
the
awesome right now.
Yes.
Yes.
The good one.
All right, moving on. Actually, let's go ahead and take a break. We will be coming back, and we'll be discussing Hunger Games. We all got to see it today.
Yes.
And we've got some really in-depth thinking going on. So you're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Gary Busey.
It's the Nerd Show.
That was awesome.
That still creeps me out.
Yes, it does.
I just imagine that's going to be a horrible thing to hear right before I die. Is just Gary Busey cackling his head off.
Nice. Well, that's good pairing with the Munsters. It's nice. Jeff, you rock.
Well done.
All right. You're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Phone numbers up here, 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. You know, you can check us out on Facebook. Glenn is on Facebook right now. We read your comments live during the show. We also post the latest in nerd news. We post cool pics and videos, pretty much anything we like, so go like us on Facebook. Now, I'd like to go ahead and get to the Hunger Games. I went into this kind of, not knowing what it was about. I purposely didn't really watch that much except for the trailer a few times.
There you go.
But it's big with the kids.
It's what all those kids are into these days.
No, yes. I know.
That isn't vampires.
They're into those Hunger Games and those sparkly vampires.
Something like that. It's just to touch on that comparison, way better than any Twilight series anything.
I will probably agree with you on principle, though, in all honesty, I haven't seen or read any of the Twilight anything.
I watched the Riff Tracks first movie.
Oh, dude.
And even that there was enough that you could hear and watch to just go, wow, why?
It's for
bad.
Hunger Games.
But yeah, no, Hunger Games is spectacular.
If I can, I'll do like a little brief rundown on the background.
Yeah, give us some story on it.
I have not read the book. My wife has, so she and I have had some good conversation about it today. But the basic premise is they're in a post-apocalyptic North America where the United States, Canada, Mexico, all the countries are, as we know it, are gone. It's at least 100 years, possibly more, into the future. And there's a very wealthy authoritarian capital that rules over outlying districts that specialize in particular industries. And at one point, there was either a rebellion or a civil war broke out against the capital, and each of the districts, one of the districts was completely destroyed. The capital won the conflict, and as penance for the uprising, the districts once a year were required to select one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to participate in the Hunger Games, which they took these 24, what they call tributes, and they pit them together in a battle to the death.
Yeah, big battle royale.
So those are the Hunger Games,
American style.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I watching the film and the type of feeling I got from it, just general themes. I got a little bit of a Lord of the Flies out of it. Just ever so slightly.
A little bit, kind of a bottled version.
Yeah,
maybe.
a little bit.
Sort of. I think it's all of those things. There's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of classic references going on.
Indeed.
So your Lord of the Flies.
Yes, certainly Orwell, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of Orwellian themes. There's lots of, even to other movies like, the classic Japanese film Battle Royale. Obviously, there's elements of that. And just there's a whole lot. There's a lot going on, and it shows. And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree, and I particularly thought that Jennifer Lawrence's performance was stellar. I absolutely loved her in the film, and I also really loved Woody Harrelson. He plays an extremely convincing drunk, for sure. But the two of them in particular, I absolutely loved.
Well, the Woody Harrelson role, he actually, what was really cool about him is that, you meet him kind of early on after the two subjects from District 12. That's where these people are from, and Jennifer Lawrence's character as well as the other gentleman. He walks in and he has very little regard for their well-being or what they're about to do. And the minute I got that feeling from him, I'm like, okay, dude, you're going to play both sides. Because there's an entertainment value to the Hunger Games in the film. And
he was clear about that at first, saying that because during the games they can get sponsors, what they call them, people to send them supplies or food or water during the games. And he basically said, you have to have a positive public image and you have to play the public in order to get them on your side. So there's definitely a showmanship aspect to it besides mere survival.
Yep. And I mean, there's also, for me, you get the sense that his character, one of the great things about his character, and a lot of the different characters I thought were fairly well-rounded, not necessarily in the same way, but just I felt like it was a good complete universe had been put together, and these characters seemed very real in a variety of ways. But obviously, the sense that you get from his right off the bat is obviously he's been doing this for a while, and knowing what happens, knowing that the premise is you send 24 in and one comes out, that's got to take a toll on you after a while.
And something else that I think should be pointed out is among the 24 tributes, There are some particular districts that have what they call careers, and these are kids that are essentially bred to partake in the Hunger Games, and they're trained to be killers. So when you have people from the impoverished districts going in to compete, you kind of get the feeling that they're at an extreme disadvantage as it is, and that certainly in part explains Woody Harrelson's kind of disdain for them and for the situation at first.
Well, also for the richer districts, it's almost like a large sporting event, because of course these richer districts are the ones that are able to breed their own winners essentially, and they're the lives of the tributes are much more trivialized, and it just strikes you as very odd and strange as you're watching the film, because you're looking at it through Jennifer Lawrence's eyes. And you're seeing, I'm going to my death, and they're treating it like, the Super Bowl.
A little bit, yeah. There's a lot of political themes going on. There's a lot of social themes going on. There's a lot of historical sort of touchstones sort of sprinkled throughout. And it's just also beyond all that. So it's very. I guess the easiest thing to say is it's an incredibly content-rich story.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly well thought out world, and I think it's also a very beautifully executed film. I think there's a lot of really strong film grammar going on, little touches, things that you guys probably weren't thinking too much about. Glenn might have been, but like things like in the beginning of the film, there's a lot of a handheld work when you're in the poor district, and then once you get into the capital, there's a lot of very
sleek,
simple, sleek shots, steady cam, or not necessarily steady cam, but just lots of very stable,
a lot of crane work,
little touches that just visually take you from one place to another and give you really good sense of feelings, and it just takes you through that sensual experience, which I thought was really great.
And they do a few more obvious things, like when they're in the outlying districts, they desaturate everything. And then when they're in the capital, I mean, everything is oversaturated in color, and that really creates a distinction. I mean, that's a pretty easy technique to do, but it's extremely effective.
Yeah, absolutely. They do a lot of really, really good things in this film, both technically and, again, content-wise. And also something to note that you were pointing out, Glenn, the author of the book is actually an accredited screenwriter as well. So it stays, if you're a fan of the book, it apparently stays very true to the content, is what I was talking with my dear wife, and she had read the book. Actually, she read it Saturday, finished it in a day.
Show off.
I know. And one of the things she said was that the film did remain extremely faithful to the book. I mean, there are a couple things here and there that they might have left out, certain things that might not work cinematically that they do in a literary sense. But I also kind of got the impression that Suzanne Collins, the author, as she was writing this book, she's using a few elements in the writing where she's really kind of shifting between present and memories, and without really any delineation between the two, and that's almost more of a cinematic device than a literary device. So it's almost it's almost like she was writing the book to later become a film, which I think we might be seeing more of nowadays, because when you write a book that becomes extremely popular, it tends to later be turned into a film, or very quickly be turned into a film. I think this.
I mean, that was totally sort of unrelated, except for that specific point. I remember that was a very prevalent commentary people were making about Dan Brown's the
Angels and Demons.
Da
Vinci Code.
The Da Vinci Code. Everybody talking about, and it really, when I sat down and read it, it really did read very much like a screenplay in many respects.
Yeah, I can see that.
It is something that. I wouldn't be surprised if that popped up a lot more regularly. Not that everybody's going to start doing it, but it doesn't. It's always kind of nice to sit down and be like, oh, it reads like a film. I like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, in my estimation, it was a great film. It was a great time. It was, 2 hours very well spent.
Yeah, it's got the box office to back it up too, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
This is opening weekend, and what's it already at?
Ben and I were looking at this. It's at $155 million. I think that's just domestically too.
That's crazy talk.
The only 2 films ever above it were Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 opened at $169.2 million, and The Dark Knight opened at 158.4 million. But it is the highest opening non-sequel film that's ever opened at that level.
That's awesome.
So, very awesome. It destroyed every other film that was out this weekend.
Second place is 21 Jump Street?
Yes, that came in second at a mere 21 million.
Ooh,
so
irony.
Yeah.
And coincidence.
But yeah, I mean, the Hunger Games destroyed everything. And also interesting to note that it opened at this level in March. I mean, usually you see films open at that level
Spring,
in May or June.
Yeah.
So for it to do that in March is really impressive.
Yeah, it's a strong showing, and I definitely think it's worth the price of the ticket, the popcorn.
I would agree as well.
And the tasty beverage.
Yes, go see Hunger Games.
Let us know what you think.
Yes, go ahead and let us know on Facebook or Twitter. Glenn's on there right now. Next up, we'll actually be talking about, this is funny. Michael Bay is digging himself a hole because he's talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's becoming kind of an online war thing going on, kind of a back and forth between him and the hardcore fans.
We might get some sparks in the studio here.
I have a slightly surprising opinion about this.
All right, we'll talk about this next. You're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM.
Hello, what have we here?
It's the Nerd Show.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Go, Thaddeus.
Ninja Turtles. Heroes on the half shell. Turtle power.
Nice.
I want Billy D. Williams to sing that.
I could keep going, but you really don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want you to.
Turtles.
Oh,
Works
yeah.
every time. I'm not as good as Joe.
No.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
I try.
There's no one as good as Joe.
Yeah.
And he'll never let me forget saying that either.
Of course not.
No, strike that from the record in there. That's right. Okay.
Cut. We're doing it over. What?
Take two.
All right. You're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. You can reach us 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. You can go to our website. We've got a lot of cool crap on there. I don't want to call it crap, do I?
Well, not
we
if
have
it's
a lot
cool.
of cool
No.
items.
I thank you. TheNerdShowOnline.com. You can click on our logo on our front page. Listen to us through the iHeart Radio feed that pops up. You can get bios on us, the nerds, and if you miss a show, you can actually check out our audio page and catch it as a podcast. You've got links to Facebook and Twitter, emails, all that kind of cool stuff.
Call me.
Yes, Herbert. Herbert, is that his name?
Yes, Herbert.
Yes.
Thank you. I looked at Glenn as the Family Guy specialist.
All right. Now, what was the reason behind the Ninja Turtles music?
Oh,
man?
yes. This is funny. I love this. Michael Bay is going to be producing, I believe, a new reboot for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
It's going under his production company's
Correct.
shingle, as they say, which is Platinum Dunes.
Now he said as part of a kind of a teaser, he's kind of said some stuff during a Nickelodeon presentation up in New York, and I quote, "These turtles are from an alien race, and they're going to be tough, edgy, funny, and completely lovable." I believe you can catch the one word in there that could send a lot of fans into a frenzy.
Has sent a lot of fans
Yes,
into a
it
frenzy.
has. There's been a lot of back and forth between the online fan community and Michael Bay. Now, of course, let's see. What did he say?
So the key word in there, if you are unfamiliar with this story at this point, is they're taking the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and they are turning them into aliens, not their
alien
Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Which is why the title has actually been changed so far. It's still technically just a tentative title, but it is currently just Ninja Turtles is what the movie will be released as.
Ugh.
So they're actually, to denote that they are removing mutant from the equation, which honestly, it upsets me, but it doesn't upset me as I'm sure you two would actually think. Some of this is because Michael Bay is not directing. Helps, but
that's true. They don't have a director yet.
No, they do.
It's
I can't pronounce his last name. Clash of the Titans, Battle Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that online yet. So
yeah, no, he's attached, and I guess his Wrath of the Titans is coming out here shortly.
Well, over this statement, there's been a backlash online from a lot of hardcore fans, and of course, in response to this, Michael Bay has released a written statement. Posted on a forum page. It says fans need to take a breath and chill. They have not read the script. Our team is working closely with one of the original creators of Ninja Turtles to help expand and give more complex backstory. Relax, we are including everything that made you become fans in the first place. We are just building a richer world.
And honestly, I'm in as much of a...
Don't you dare defend him. Don't. No.
In as much
No.
as a jackboot as Michael Bay can be, I think it's a little too early to just jump on the bandwagon.
No, I will jump.
And we should probably wait to see how the actual tone and some screenshots, some set photos, anything, some more stuff to come out before we actually get there. Some of that is, again, one of the original co-creators of Ninja Turtles is working with them. I know they've talked about being locked in some rooms for several hours, going over stuff, and I mean, it's still I'm pulled in two directions by it, but I don't just want to shut it down entirely. And to be fair, the franchise does have a history of sort of shooting itself in the foot.
This is true
in many respects. So I mean,
let's just say Turtles in Time. Come on now,
Vanilla Ice.
Okay, don't knock the Vanilla Ice.
Dude.
Okay, it was bad,
Dude.
but it was still hilarious.
It's cherished.
But it was totally unnecessary. It's like Macy Gray in the first Spider-Man film. It's like, why did you do that? Unnecessary.
Let's be perfectly honest. The 3 live-action films really were kind of unnecessary in themselves. I'll kind of back you up on that one.
I like the first one.
The first one was all right.
One I still feel is a classic. Obviously not a perfect film, but I think they did a really great job for, the technology available at the time, what they were doing, etc. I still really enjoy it, despite actually I embrace some of its more campy parts and things like that. But 2 and 3 get a little, it starts sliding. And there's a lot of weird stuff. They've tried to bring the series back a couple of times and some other things. But the series has enough weird stuff going on that, I mean, if you followed the original comic books and or even the original series, there is actually a lot going on to sort of substantiate this alien move. I'm still upset that it's not the ooze. Like, I hope they I don't know how they can if they're talking about them being aliens, but there's the small optimist inside me just really wants like the ooze to still be a part of it and something else. I believe right now the current plan is they're not just aliens from another planet, they're from another dimension, which is something that's part of the original comic books and thing, and that's where Krang comes from and all of that stuff. And technically, even the establishment that created the ooze was actually like a secret base for like Krang's people and stuff like that. So I mean, there is history in there if you're deep into the origin story and stuff like that. There are ways to connect these dots. It's just a weird thing because obviously it's a part of the title and they're literally taking it away. So I'm upset that they're doing that. I understand the reason for the backlash, but to be honest, I am going to kind of defend their position a little bit. I think people should. I do agree. I don't agree with the way he necessarily presented it, but I do think fans should kind of like take a second and see more of what's happening before everybody totally lights the room on fire.
Michael Bay does not have the best track record in taking successful franchises and turning them into something that is not liked by the hardcore base.
He turns them into money, which is what gets the wheels going sometimes, which is the unfortunate reality of the industry. But yeah, I mean, but again, it's also he directed the Transformers films, and obviously that has some. There's elements that are okay with the first one,
dude.
With the elements that are okay,
dude.
Elements that are okay. Like the visual effects. But that's
puppets, dads.
But that's what he does. But he's not directing this. There's what's his name is involved in.
That guy.
What's his name?
What's his name? It's
that guy.
He's done decent enough work that I'm just like he's still what's his name until he possibly wins me over with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I think.
I'm sorry, just Ninja Turtles.
Yes, Teenage Space Ninja Turtle. Maybe it'll be Space Ooze.
Trans-dimensional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be.
Okay, I have a question.
Trans-dimensional Space Ooze.
How come on another planet we have ninjas?
No, I believe Splinter is still involved, and I believe that's that.
Is he from another planet?
Maybe
A rat planet?
Maybe it's the same planet they
I
did
think
Firefly.
Same planet, yeah.
I just had Ben laughing.
Nice. You can't have me laugh. You can't hear it.
I don't know.
know.
They're twisting those parts of the origin, but I mean, honestly, this is the same. Like, we have Krang, which is a brain-looking alien beings, and if we're also having turtle-looking alien beings, I mean, it's kind of. And honestly, from even the original content, the original books, we've got talking, pizza-eating, like radioactive Ninja Turtles that learned their skills from a rat that picked up his skills from living in a cage before he got oozed.
I'm sorry, Thaddeus. I don't see any loopholes in what you just said.
And we've got other like villains like Baxter Fly, who was just straight up a like weird, twisted Jeff Goldblum throwback, and Shredder, and all of these. Like, it's honestly, it's a world where it's not too hard to connect the dots. Like, they're not aliens is annoying, but it's not like out of the question. It's not so far reaching that there's not a way to connect it all together. It's just, it's something that they're kind of messing with that probably doesn't need to be messed with in that way. But honestly, it really doesn't affect too much of how they are. I mean, there's still, even in the original story, it's like they're teenagers forced to live underground. So, I mean, there's still that fish out of water element. Like, they are not normal people, but they're trying to be. So, I mean, if you take them and make them aliens, it's like, well, yeah, it's a little different. I hope they don't do the cheesy, like, they discover pizza for the first time obligatory scene.
No, I'm waiting for that cheesy E.T. Scene where his turtle buddies come and collect him.
Who knows?
Or where they Splinter lures the turtles in with with pepperonis instead of Reese's Pieces.
Ooh, piece of pepperoni.
I don't know.
Ooh, piece of pepperoni.
Well, I think to kind of touch on the way you're feeling, Ben, to put words in Angry Ben's mouth.
Yes.
I think it's an issue of
Pin smash.
You're taking a story that's established and that the fans of it really kind of fell in love with and made successful and popular, and then you're tearing that down in order to say, well, I'm going to make these people like it now, so you guys can deal with it.
Right. No, I am not a fan or necessarily in favor of producers and movie studios have a horrible track record, unfortunately, of taking things that were made, in a certain era that were loved by a certain, fan base, and then rearranging them to appeal to people who were born, a generation or two later who don't know as much about the original or weren't into the original and, frankly, most of the time don't really care, to present them with something that is, for them, relatively new. So it's, I even had a conversation recently about 21 Jump Street with somebody who was like, oh, I didn't realize 21 Jump Street was actually a series. I thought this was like, I was like, oh no.
Man.
But I mean, that speaks to age, and that speaks to differences in what you're into as you're growing up and what you nerd out on. And so, it's an unfortunate track record that these things happen. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that, but they're doing it. But the fact that they're working with one of the creators to begin with holds a little bit of hope for me.
I think you guys kind of touched on this when you were talking about the new Spider-Man cartoon, where they kind of brought some like cutaway sort of elements where they're like, hey, the kids today, they like that Family Guy cartoon.
Right.
Let's do it like that. So I really see where you're going with the producers doing that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll stay my wrath for now until we have more information.
Just see what comes out. And I mean, if it starts looking bad, if clips come out and they start sounding bad and stuff, then I mean, there's a little bit more content.
You'll jump on the bandwagon then. Right?
Well, I mean, honestly, there'll be more to substantiate the claims rather than just. But I mean, for right now, it's just he said, she said, and it's kind of like I don't want to get too.
Well,
it's
set for a Christmas 2013 release, so we've got some time to talk about it.
Wait anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Next up, we will be covering Action Comics. We will be continuing with our comic book Nerd Show comic book review brought to you by Keith's Comics. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back.
It's the Nerd Show.
Superman!
Nice.
Breckenmeyer cracks me up.
That was Robot Chicken, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Hilarious.
I love that show.
So speaking of Superman.
Yes. This is the Nerd Show comic book review brought to you by Keith's Comics. Keith is located off of Mockingbird Lane in Dallas. That's Mockingbird and Greenville Avenue. Be sure to check out his other locations. He's got More Fun Comics in Lancaster, More Fun Comics Denton in Denton.
On the square.
That's right. And, of course, Keith's Comics North Dallas up at Trinity Mills in Midway. You can check out his website, keithscomics.com. And you can follow him on Twitter at Keith since 1989 and on Facebook, facebook.com/Keith's Comics.
Good times.
Yes, so we thank him a lot for
Thank you, Keith.
for everything he does for us.
For the delightful comic books.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right, now, Action Comics. What was y'all's very first impressions reading the issues?
See, I really didn't know what to think going into this because the last review I did with you guys was Justice League, and that did not go over well at all.
That was a bad taste in your mouth, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Did your eyebrows grow back from the fire I started?
Eventually.
Okay. Oh, my
it took a
goodness.
little while, but I did lose the unibrow.
I'm sorry about that.
I'm bringing that one back,
Okay.
so no worries.
Nice.
Overall, I did enjoy it. I thought Grant Morrison did a great job. Certainly a massive step up than what I saw Jeff Johns pull out of certain areas on his posterior in Justice League.
But we like Jeff Johns. He's a nice guy.
Yes, indeed.
Well, I mean, it's, Justice League bad, Aquaman great. So what?
Yeah.
Superman was somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I did think it was a little funny as I'm reading, the new 52. They're doing Origins right now, and so it's a much younger Clark Kent, and so he's not quite as polished as he's been in some of the down the road. And,
Well, he's supposed to be more like Jimmy Olsen's age, right? Like they're generally peers in this new series. Like he's in his early 20s or something.
right. And as I'm reading this, he's got kind of the ratty hair and the round glasses. Really, I thought he looked like Harry Potter through the whole thing.
I'm not going to lie. I actually like the Harry Potter Clark Kent. I think it's awesome.
I think it worked, but I kept expecting him to pull out a wand and Wingardium Leviosa himself into the sky.
Oh, my goodness.
I think it's a nice little cross-pollination.
You know, one thing I really did notice when I first started reading Action Comics was that it kind of harkened back to the Golden Age, taking Superman back to his roots, going against corruption and organized crime and a lot of mob bosses, a lot of political bosses.
He's a lot more altruistic.
Yes.
Or I guess a little bit more altruistic and I guess very aggressively so than in, I know, later issues of other Superman comics.
I felt that they really kind of played him up as more of a vigilante than he has been in the past.
True enough.
Where, they really come out of the gate with conflict with the police, with the military. So that was really played up a lot more than I feel like Superman has been played in the past, which I don't say that as a bad thing. It's just an interesting take, a little different angle to get him where he is.
Right. I think it's a good starting point, and I also think it's always it happens in most of the hero origin stories, regardless of who you're talking about. And for me, that kind of conflict I always find to be relatively interesting. I mean, even in Batman, it's like Commissioner Gordon knows, but essentially the rest of everybody's just like, oh, who's that? Who's that masked vigilante? And for me, it works. I think it creates more interesting avenues to explore than when it's just everybody's friends and getting along. Yeah. You got to have a little drama to spice things up.
One thing that I do like about this, too, is since they are dealing with origins, it's a little disjointing at times because they'll do a lot of flashbacks into the past. They do something in the future at one point, and they go back and look at Superman's memory. So it gets a little disjointed at times. But I do think it's good that they cover the ideas that have been in Superman's past that get him where he is, like the destruction of Krypton when they send Kal-El to Earth, and they touch a little bit on Smallville. They don't go too much in depth, but I liked that. I think it's important that they incorporate that into the story because that has been so well established in Superman lore. I think they have to do that, and I appreciate how they've done that in the new issue so far.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job of incorporating, the foundations that you can't really alter that much and get away with it. And they're just sort of, I think the way they're reintroducing him is good. Like, I didn't really get into Superman comics until later, until the whole sort of Doom series and the Superman's dead. And then, I mean, that just got kind of a little too weird for me afterwards. So I didn't follow it for too long after that happened. But it's interesting to go back and see, you know, obviously Superman has permeated so much media, like across the board, TV, magazine, everything. It's such a well-known icon that it's nice to see sort of an amalgam of things. It's like Grant Morrison got to pick some of his favorite aspects of things that work and really put them together. I still have issues with the way some of the stories themselves are being presented. Like, I feel like there are parts I feel like throughout reading the book, there are parts that are rushed and other parts where, like, they actually do have enough time and they're smooth. I didn't find it disjointed in quite the same way that you did, Glenn, where actually those were some, like, the memory pieces for me were some of the smoother running elements, like both going into them, reading those stories, like, you know, on Krypton, you go there briefly, and some other stuff. It's some of the other, like, in the middle of some of the action, the way they're putting some of those scenes together doesn't quite come off very, like, it's still rough around the edges for me. Maybe that's something that'll smooth out, but I feel like they're like cranking them out a little faster than they should. But I mean, a lot of the other, you know, if you're a Grant Morrison fan, a lot of the things that you like about Grant Morrison and his writing is in here. The sort of, you know, techno-organic fascination that he has, and gave us all the things that everybody loves about The Matrix until the Wachowski brothers stopped ripping him off directly and they went bad. So those things are in there. And just, I mean, it's clever where it needs to be clever. And I like that they are taking some of the origin stuff back. Like, you know, he doesn't get, I don't know how to put it, like, he feels pain. And you know that he feels pain. Like, he gets in fights and he gets kind of banged up. He doesn't quite get, I don't know, like, not broken or damaged, but it's like things hurt.
It's
and
not
he says, ow.
Yeah, he's not at full power yet, obviously.
Right.
That's why he's able to get bruised, but he still recovers pretty quickly.
Right. Or I guess, I don't know if they're going to amp up his power later or whether they're going to leave him in this state of again, I just appreciate the fact that, you know, he can be in a fight or something and it's like things hurt. He's not Mr. Perfect. And I kind of enjoy that about, because I mean, I think there's a certain amount of overprotection in some of the way later series from the, you know, the mid 90s and stuff.
One thing that I really appreciated about it, too, is that they do kind of modernize things a little bit, where they're talking about using their cell phones and texting, and Clark is writing for the newspaper, but they also bring up writing in blogs, because we're at a point today where newspapers aren't nearly as widely distributed as they have been in the past. And so there's that issue of they're kind of having to reinvent Clark Kent's persona around that, because you can't just necessarily stick with him being a newspaper writer, because, you know, newspapers are going bankrupt nowadays.
Right.
They have to publish online.
Well, I'm for the most part, I am I'm very satisfied with the series. I very am. And I like that arc where he finally becomes Superman, at least the Superman that we know of in the Justice League, at least his look anyway.
Yeah.
From that one. I recommend it.
I'm on the fence. I think if you're a fan of Grant Morrison, you know, give it a try.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was good. I'd read it.
All right,
I'd recommend reading it.
You're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM, and be sure and check out our website, our Facebook, and our Twitter. Join us next week. It'll be Sunday night, 7 o'clock next week. So thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
The Nerd Show is a production of Nerdville Entertainment.